Questions when you're ready? Coach, I remember earlier, I think Coach Reed's first press conference to start spring ball, you were saying something along the lines of wanting players to work on the details, fix things, but they can't fix everything in a day or in a single camp.
Right.
Players have been talking about how you're really detail-oriented.
Right.
So how have you balanced being super focused on the details, but also knowing you can't fix every single thing in just one camp?
Sure. Yeah, I mean we're halfway through. We've had two really solid weeks of spring prep, and it's just a process. Daily. The thing that I think that we try to do a really good job of is focusing individually on certain things and then holistically as a unit. So being as specific and intentional as we can with the players, each individual player. Hey, this is something you need to work on for today. If we can get just this 5% better here today on this rep in this situation, then you can do a good job of that and better yourself. And then if we've got the group, each guy knocking off one thing that they did, maybe a bust from the other day in practice, or maybe a technique issue, or maybe an eye issue or communication issue, then holistically, right, then we can kind of improve as a unit. So just really peeling it back and being intentional and individualize, our dialogue with the players in regards to what specifically they can do. It's one thing to come out and say, hey, let's get better. Well, what exactly do I need to get better at? And trying to be deliberate about that communication, I think, has been helpful.
Coach, with this week being growth week, just what did that look like from kind of a process standpoint, and what results did you start to see?
Yeah. I think always, that second week of spring camp is always where, your mindset is, okay, I understand the calls, I understand the situations, I've been in those, and now it's about trying to make that next step about being intentional, like we just talked about certain things like, for instance, on the back end, making it a big emphasis point of communication, volume reflecting confidence, and knowing it to an extent that I can be loud, right? And if I can communicate in such a way that reflects that confidence, then the guys around me have more confidence in my calls. And so with everything new that's happening, the guys are doing a great job about making the corrections day to day, but continuing to develop that volume and confidence, especially when the picture changes. We get a ton of great looks from our offense in regards to the shifts and the motions, which cause guys to communicate, maybe less confidently at times. And so we're constantly working on that.
Corey, I know you said that you're not really working too much on schemes right now.
Right.
But so what are your early impressions of Corey Flagg and kind of the role he can play in this defense?
Yeah, very solid, very workmanlike, a guy that, when you come up here in odd hours, he's up here, kind of trying to figure things out, always asking questions. I think it's important to him by his commitment level and the amount of time I see him up here. Has a very good understanding. He's played under a lot of different systems, and now I think saw it happen this week a little bit where the game's starting to slow down for him a little bit, and now it's starting to make sense to him, and now you see the athleticism start to show up. But like everybody that's a transfer, 8 practices in, the amount of volume of things that they've been taught in terms of different techniques, different schemes. Very proud of his progress thus far and anxious to see him continue on that upward trend.
Corey, just in terms of depth in that room, how's that shaping up in camp?
Yeah, at the linebacker position in general, just trying to, again, you have the 2 veteran guys that have played a lot of snaps. And then, trying to blend in some of the younger guys, some of the high school guys, some of the transfers. It's a process, and we're 8 days in it. But certainly probably about day 5 or 6, you see that room for the most part make a turn for the better, because now it's starting to slow down for them a little bit, right? The installs slow down, and thus I can kind of conceptualize and again, like we talk about on the back end, the volume of the communication. Guys are starting to make the checks and anticipate the motions and being able to be more confident in their communication, and thus, the play has really sped up. So continue to see that. We got one more, another 7 days of practice in. Want to continue to see that positive trend, but been real happy with the work they've put in, and you're starting to see some of the fruits of their labor showing up like we did today.
You mentioned the two veterans there.
Mm-hmm.
Just, if you could talk about Chuck and Kristen.
Yeah.
And what the value they
Chuck's played a lot of football, done a great job here, been kind of a role model and a mentor for those younger guys in regards to the film time and the meeting time. When we come up here and see those guys working on their own, that's always a good feeling. It's important to them, right? Spending the extra time in the film room, in the playbook, coming up to the offices, asking questions. Chuck's kind of been a leader that way by example. And he's brought some of the younger guys along. Tristan Newsom's a kid that's played, a lot of snaps here, but was a new player last year. And I think you really saw the level of production about, game 5, 6, 7, 8, and then that stretch run, you started to see how athletic he was. And so anytime you're a new guy in a program, there's going to be those growth bumps, if you will, and just being able to work through those things. Been really proud of ththose guys doing that, and then being able to bring some of the other guys along with them, like Corey Flagg, and bringing him along, and I think that's where you kind of see the leadership showing from a guy like Chuck. Mm-hmm.
Coach, you just touched on Tristan and Chuck, but also just for the rest of the defense, you lose so many vocal leaders. Just have you seen anybody else this spring kind of step up and take on more of a role?
Yeah, I mean, I think each room has their own guys. Most of them are veterans, and some of them are just looking to fill that leadership vacuum. When you have all those seniors that are leaving, right? There's opportunity, and we've talked about that, all spring in regards to this is an opportunity. Seeing everything from a positive standpoint, and certainly, guys within each position group, have kind of tried to move into that new role that they didn't have last year, that there's an opportunity to move into this year. But again, 8 practices in it. A lot of guys are still very concentrated on their own progression and getting better each day. But certainly, as we continue to close out this spring camp, those things will naturally start taking place. And anxious to see kind of who becomes those new role models, those new vocal leaders for us.
Coach, forgive the general question on today since we weren't out there, but what or maybe who stood out to you within the
I think there's been spurts. The Norwood kid's had a really good camp. He's made some plays on the ball. He's been very consistent. I think that on the back end, he's really stood out. Makes some plays. I mean, Joe's had a really good camp. DC's had a very good camp. I mean, I hate to pull out individuals. Those are guys maybe today that it's on the front of my mind that played really well today, but. I wouldn't say there's anybody that really sticks out. Very happy with a couple of the new edge pieces that we have. Zion and Darius, are going to be very complimentary. They've figured some things out pretty quickly, and you start to see some of the physical tools that they have. But really, 8 days in, it's every day it's somebody else stepping up and somebody else, kind of competing, and so that's kind of what you want to see. That back and forth, brings out the best in the team, and so that part of the competition's been really fun this spring. Going through that.
Coach, to kind of bounce off this question, has there been just throughout all of camp any young guys or any inexperienced guys who've kind of not necessarily surprised you, but done more than what you were told about them?
Yeah, I didn't. When we come in here, I didn't really spend a lot of time listening to what was anything about anybody. Tried to, when we came in, we're going to form our own opinions on guys. So again, tried to guard against any preconceived notions on whatever strengths or weaknesses guys posed. And so, really looking at guys, and giving them their run based on what we see and what we've been able to do. So I wouldn't categorize anybody as, well, I had heard this about him and now they're that. It's really just since we've been here, this is the opportunity, and to see what guys are and as they mature in the process. So no, I wouldn't single anybody out that way from a negative standpoint or a positive standpoint. It's just kind of, we're going through it 8 days in.
Coach, can you kind of talk to us about the impact of being able to compete against a very talented guy, the high-powered offense every day in practice on the defense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the amount of veteran guys that we have on the offense, it helps to see, from a schematic standpoint, the formations and the way they change the pictures. it's awesome. It's really hard, right? But the good thing is that the games will slow down for you because of the looks that you see in practice from what Kirby and the offense does. And then obviously the execution, the skill positions that we have, the continuity up front. I mean, it's great. You don't want to have a false sense of confidence. And sometimes, you can go. I've been in programs where you can go through the spring and you get a false sense of where you're at. And when we compete against that offense on a daily, you have a really good sense of, hey, we did a good job today and we improved. And when we don't, that they come after you and they attack you. So it's been a very good, like a give and take, each day. And so 8 days in, I've been very happy with the competition. And the gains, you really feel positive about those gains because they're against good people that understand their scheme on that side of the ball.
Just on that note, since you've been here, what have you learned about Kirby Moore and the way that he likes to run his side as well?
The kids are prepared, and like a lot of kids in this program, it doesn't seem like they don't make the same mistake twice, and so you can see the growth and development individually, and then holistically, schematically, we'll do some things that maybe give them problems, and vice versa. They'll do some things that give us problems, and then, hopefully by the next practice, you can kind of fix those and address those. And so it's been a very good give and take throughout the spring, and that's how you get better. You get better by challenging the other side and being challenged on your side, and I think that's always healthy.
Corey, you talked about really liking the competition so far. Is there any competition in a particular room that's really stood out to you so far?
Are you talking within the room or across the other side? No, I think it's 8 days in. I don't mean to make a bigger thing out of it, but guys are still learning, right? And so it's more competition against yourself. What can I do? What can I put on tape? What are the corrections I can make from the previous practice? Really, it's competing against yourself and your own limitations, right? And not making the same mistake twice, not doing the same thing on tape maybe that I need to correct. If it's a little technique coaching point, if it's an eye progression, being able to compete against yourself in regards to getting it fixed as soon as I can, right? And I think across the board, whether it be hand placement up front or pad level, those basic tenets of football. You see guys as coaches, we don't sit in that staff room saying, we made that correction yesterday and here it is again and here it is again. Those things can be frustrating, and we haven't had many of that. So kudos to the kids in regards to really being able to buy in from a technical standpoint and really fix the things. Because again, it's all foundational, right? If we can do a good job foundationally about where I put my eyes, my stance, my alignments, my keys, my communication, then the athleticism can take place, right? And then the scheme can come. But like we've said all along, this spring isn't about scheme. It's about the technique, the fundamentals, and the execution. And so we're trying to keep the main thing, and really be diligent about that.
Coach Drake said that when you came here, you were kind of learning what's in place, and then you'll be adding your flavor to it. So how's that going for you, just learning what's here and then finding when to add your own stuff to it?
Yeah, it's still a process, right? We're still, like I said, we're just 8 days into spring, and again, the schematic stuff, we're not really concentrating on that. So that time will come, but right now, 8 days into spring, it's technique, it's fundamentals, it's hand placement, it's those rudimentary fundamental things that we can't put the cart before the horse. And so just keeping the main thing, and each day, knocking off those things that maybe we need to make corrections from the day before. But very technical, very fundamental based, very communicative. Those are the things that are important to us at this point in time.
What have you seen from Marvin Burke so far?
Marv's he's got tremendous athletic ability, tremendous potential. I think about day 5, the game started to slow down for him, being more communicating with more volume. I've noticed that, and that shows that he's more confident in what he's seeing. But eager to learn, very mindful about his corrections, takes it seriously. Been very happy with him. Anxious to see, what he can improve on the next 7 days. So every day it's a challenge. Now we're on the flip side of that thing, and now we're talking in regards to there's not many opportunities left, and so being very thankful for the opportunity, but going out to practice and really being diligent about it. Hey, I only have 7 more Skelly opportunities, this spring, and really capitalizing on those things. And so when you look at it from that standpoint of not trying to get through something, but trying to maximize this opportunity, I've been really happy with Marvin and his progression so far.
Anything else, Coach Batoon? Excellent, thank you.
Okay, thank you.